the thing like I've been hearing about you is like people call him the father of startups in Vizag.
I have not done much for the startup ecosystem as people make it out to be. Even though I come from a business family, a Marwari family, right? Mm-hmm. People say that business is in your blood. I didn't feel that way.
How many domains you own at this point?
I believe 8,500 plus domain names.
8,500?
Yes.
You know the go-karting thing we have in here?
Yes.
And so what he did was he just saw the website and he figured out there's a fucking bug in that. He booked like 10,000 rides.
Wow.
In that for 1 rupee.
Oh, okay.
And then he called them.
See, everyone quotes that is Facebook was not the first social platform, right? Mm-hmm. Google was not the first search engine.
Yeah.
Jio was not the first mobile network.
Yeah.
Right? This all came into the market where the technology was proven, market was proven, and they had to do something different than what the existing guys were doing.
I've heard this somewhere, like there are these two brothers from Germany or something.
Semmer brothers.
Yeah, they just copied all these successful businesses and then they made it.
It's a good model.
That's what they did with Instagram Reels. They just copied TikTok all along. Even this copying thing is happening in content creation as well.
A lot of.
In some kind of big YouTubers in West, and suddenly all of our people are doing the same thing. Everybody's copying Mr. Beast right now. Yes. Yeah, there is this guy who copies like almost all content of Mr. Beast.
Okay.
All that, but at the end of the day, he's making around like 25 lakhs per month or something by just doing that.
Sip on mezcal, I like tequila, damn this shit tasty. Yeah, you know I made about $1 million off a pink beanie. I feel like my life is a movie, damn this too easy. Can't catch me, I'm jumping the borders, hit the embassy, it's bag or die.
Hello.
Hi.
Come to the pod. So this is like a really long awaited podcast. I wanted to do this podcast for a really long time actually with you.
Okay.
But then I got busy and you were also busy. You didn't even give me the date when I asked you like let's do a podcast sometimes, and you were like, yeah, sure. That's it. That's the end of the conversation. I thought like, okay, maybe he's not interested in doing this podcast. And then I was like, right, like 4 days ago I asked you for the podcast, right? So I was like thinking, okay, he doesn't want to do this podcast. So like, why not disturb him or something like that? But I had to take this shot. I mean, if you don't ask, you'll never know, right?
Yes, true.
So I asked. So yeah, can you tell me a little bit about the thing like I've been hearing about you is like, we both are in a group, right?
Yes, true.
In a startup group.
Yes.
So a friend of mine is also in that group and he was saying, bro, who added you to that group? And I said, some guy named Alok added me. Bro, Alok added you? You know who he is? Like, I don't know, bro. I just met him once in AU and he was like, people call him the father of startups in Vizag. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So, this is basically Andho mein Kana Raja. There is a Hindi phrase, okay, Andho mein Kana Raja, right? I consider myself that, right? I have not done much for the startup ecosystem as people make it out to be. Okay, to be very honest, right? But then because I have done something and other people haven't done that much, so they think, okay, I have done much more for the startup ecosystem. But my journey goes back much more before I started getting active in the startup ecosystem, so which is around 2014. So, when Startup Village started in Vizag, right? So that is when we ourselves started calling us Vizag Startups, and that is how the whole my effort to build this startup community came across. There is one guy, Rajshekhar. He was running his company called Hell Sati.
Okay.
He was the primary mover basically, and then I took over from the duties of running this community from him. Okay. So I could say that he had a genesis of this Vizag Startups, and then I took over from it. But being an entrepreneurial guy, I was long back when I was finishing my engineering degree itself. I've been thinking of doing something on my own. Right? It was way back in 2003. In fact, much before that, when I was doing my 12th class.
Oh, okay.
So that is around 99.
This was all before Instagram and shit.
Before Instagram, before .com boom itself.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I was a guy who used to read a lot of magazines. So I was kind of keeping track what is happening around the world. In fact, I still remember I went to, when I was passed out from 12th and I was preparing, I thought of dropping 1 year and prepare for, as usual, IITZ. And I just spent 2-3 months and then I figured it is not for me. Okay. Because then you have to mug up a lot of things and all. I was not the guy who can mug up a lot of things, right? I was a kind of a little bit creative guy. And at that time I thought, okay, why not I should go and get a job, earn some money. So I saw one ad in a newspaper, and then I went to that office without having anything with me, like, resume or anything like that. I wasn't even aware what is a resume is and all.
Okay.
I went to the desk, asked them, hey guys, I saw this newspaper ad, and they said, okay, do you have a resume? I said, what is a resume? They said, something about yourself. So I said, okay, can you give me a piece of paper? I took a piece of paper, wrote it, and then figured out it doesn't make sense. So I went back.
So you figure out all the formats that you have to do
and all. Yes. So so I've been guy who used to took an initiative, but one problem with me is that never able to finish it off properly, the taking it to the finishing line. So that I can take initiative easily, but because you can finish up to 70-80%, right? But pushing it the last 20% is really tough.
So you call yourself like jack of all trades?
Yes, I would call that.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of things.
Even I understand this concept. Like whenever we are interested in something, like we would want to learn a lot of things about the thing. And once we got to hold of that, we just lose interest in that.
You lose interest in that because you figured out the bulk of the things is what is there in that field, right? And then you lose interest and say, okay.
And the same things happened to me also.
Yes. Yeah. Because it's more of a grunt work then, right? Day in, day out, you have to do the same thing again and again.
Yeah. Right? Like when you see someone else doing that thing, you would want to know, okay, so this guy is doing so properly, why am I not able to do that?
Yes.
And you want to learn that thing for a really long time, and then you just do it in a week or something, and then, okay, this is easy. Okay, yes. Let's do something else.
Yes. So, and I had this, without knowing what is this hacker mindset, I did had that, hacker mindset or the tinkerer mindset. Calling hacker, it will be have a negative connotation. A tinkerer mindset. And if you look out some of, the hacker clubs around the world, they used to have these sessions on lock picking and all. And I was doing this in my 5th or 6th class, picking up the locks.
Okay.
Right, without even knowing that there is a connection between the tinkering mindset and figuring out how things work.
Okay.
And much before that, I was.
So you were given a toy, and at the end of the day, you gave the toy to your parents, broke it in half.
Yes, lot of
kind of operation for that toy.
Yes. I still remember, the parents brought this electronic toy train, right, and that broke off, and I figured out I took off the motor. And then I was trying to build the motor inside a Dabur Chyawanprash bottle by putting up magnets there. I didn't know how it worked.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I saw that how there is a magnet inside that motor. There is a wiring inside that. So I tried to build that by just putting this, ingredient inside that. It didn't work, obviously.
Yeah. Even I did something you remember that video games where you have to put that game like that,
ROMs. Yes.
Yeah. So
the cassette.
So I thought maybe I could turn a single player video game into a multiplayer by just adding another joystick plug to that.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I did build a joystick. One of my joystick broke off. So I took, we had carpentry work going on at our home. So I took up some equipments, put this thing together. It was a working joystick. But my cousin brother scolded me because unknowingly I was clamping on the nails on the corner of the bed.
Okay.
So the corner of the bed spoiled because of that. I built a proper joystick with the wooden thing and all. So equipment was there. The broken one, you took it out. Put it inside the
aluminum panel.
Aluminum panels and all. So and then connecting, you have to just connect with the aluminum panels, and then you can work with that.
So it all started from there, building things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Building things, but not in a finishing. So there's a problem, right? I like to build things, but not in a proper shape where you can go and show it to the world.
I think that's everybody is facing that thing, but most of them don't try out new things. So actually,
first thing is trying out itself is that initial. So I had an inbuilt that thing. I used to try out a lot of things. Okay, but then I didn't think it of in a commercial manner.
Yeah.
Okay, even though I come from a business family, a Marwari family, right? People say that business is in your blood. I didn't feel that way. I was more of a tinkerer or hacker, where I used to build stuff, but I never think of how I can commercialize that. Doing my engineering, I used to build, assemble computers for my friends. And it never occurred to me that I should charge for that.
Okay.
Right? It was more of, okay, fine. I assembled my own computer. I assembled it for my friends. And we just didn't occur to me that, I can go and ask for money for that.
Yeah. By the time you know that it's too late.
By the time you knew, yes. So it's too late for going down that road.
You're also helping people building their ebooks. Is this like a particular niche where you could make a lot of money?
Yes. Again, I wouldn't say lot of money, but comfortable money.
Yeah, I think.
Okay. So a lot of money is basically like, you become kind of rich and afford a lot of things and all. Nothing like that.
This is something like we've never heard of. I mean, personally, I've never heard something like making covers for ebooks.
Okay.
I know there are some people doing it, but I thought there is some artist over there or some graphic designer and they're just gonna hire him and then he'll do it. I didn't think that there is some particular company or organization doing particularly focused on ebook covers.
Okay. I think I still have in my website. I'm not sure whether it is live or not. Something called ecovers.in. Most probably it should be still live if it is like, because I keep renewing my domain name and my hosting.
Yeah. Tell me about how many domains you own.
We'll come to that later. Okay, let me finish with that ebook cover thing. How I came across that niche. So generally, like, you make people say that the money is in the niche. Okay, you have to identify your niche. Okay, and the problem was we never got stuck to certain niche for a long time to go very deep into that. Okay, we treated in a surface manner. Like as you say, like once you figure out and then you know what it is about, and then you feel bored out of it because then it's become more of a grunt work. Okay, so I started like so before I cover ebook covers, I think it's better to go in chronological order. I will start like what I did after finishing my engineering, so that we know from where I'm coming from. Okay, so I finished my engineering in 2003. So I completed my engineering in 2003. Okay, and as I said, like I was a curious guy. I was building stuff. I was coding in my college, helping people do their final year projects. I did my own final year project on my own. Never thought of buying it from outside.
Yeah, this is something new. People just buy
from outside. So I did at that time VMware.
So you are the one who's providing all these people when they want to buy.
Only for few people, not many people. But again, see at that time I was not thinking in a commercial line. So I didn't know how to productize all these things. So now I know, right? Yeah. So at that time, what happened was VMware, like the virtual machine, VMware, you can run OS onto that. So it was still, I believe, in beta version or something. And I used to run in my computer. It was a Celeron processor. And if I'm not wrong, I had at one point of time 17 OS images, different OS images installed on my
VMware.
In my VMware thing. Okay. So I was experimenting with a lot of different OS, BIOS, different flavor of Linux. So I used to buy these magazines, digit magazines and all, and they used to give this CDs or DVDs with that, and used to get all these different Linux flavors. With that. So I used to install it, check out what is there, and then feeling bored out of it. So I was pretty new that I will get into computers pretty long back. Even in my class 8th, I knew that I will be doing something in computers field only, because in the 7th we had access to computers early in my game. So I got access to computer in the class 7th itself. So there were 6 guys in my class which were allowed to have access to computer class. So 3 or 4 were toppers of the class. One guy because of reference, someone referenced that he should get a computer access to a computer, and one of me was myself because I was good in science. Okay, physics, I was good in physics at the time. So I got access to computers, and then we were started basic programming and all. I was good in basic programming. I used to build at that time. I used to build map of India and all through simple commands and all. So 8th, 9th, and then by 10th, 11th, I think we got access to C++. I built, and in fact, I wrote around 2,000 plus lines of code in 12th, which I haven't done after that. So I built a virtual diary program at that time itself, and with a screensaver. In the DOS-based kind of thing. So I did that, but after that I haven't written that much line of code. Right? So college basically took me away from my this thing. So in my engineering second year, I assembled my own computer. So seniors were asking how the hell you can do that? We haven't even seen the inside of a computer. So I said I have access to computers early in the game, and I was helping my friends to assemble their computers and all. And I was programming. For example, you have in the laboratory, you have to build this BFS and DFS, depth first search and breadth first search algorithms. Everyone was inputting that in an array. You have to input in an array, right? And I was creating a graphical display of how the BFS will work and DFS will work and all. So I was much ahead with my classmates in that manner. But then, it's not always good actually, right? So and then
You wouldn't have any friends who would understand you. at that
so
point.
we had some friends again, not academically bright,
Yeah.
but we were good in computers, kind of a thing. So finished my engineering, and then the dot-com boom happened. When I finished my engineering 2003, again dot-com bust, not boom, the bust was happening, and there wasn't many jobs around. So most of my friends went to do further studies. Some of them went to Hyderabad and took the training and all. Personally, for me, I was thinking what to do next. And as usual, being an entrepreneur or being a startup guy, you think around the problems around you. One of the problem was not getting a good internet access.
Okay.
So I said, okay, fine, let me try it out. Okay, and I was keeping track of things happening around. So I came across an MIT project called RoofNet. They were making this Wi-Fi enabled, wireless enabled mesh networks. Basically, if you have a Wi-Fi router, someone else has a Wi-Fi router, you both can put these Wi-Fi routers on your rooftop, and then if one has access to internet, other can share, go through it. So basically hotspot, and it happens automatically. So I got
It's
interested.
like a private network for both of these people.
Yeah, so they both share their network with each other. So
Okay.
it's called a mesh network.
Mhm.
So I got interested in that. Spend some time figuring out how I can do that here. But the problem was I didn't knew that the terrain of India is different than the terrain in US. So most of the suburbs there, right? They had a single 1 floor or 2 floor building. So you have a line of sight there, which is not the case over here,
Yeah.
right? So and this was at the time would have mostly worked in line of sight mechanism only. But
Okay.
still, I spent around 2 years. I went to Dharamshala. There was some Air Jaldi program there. They were doing this long distance internet connectivity through wireless routers.
Okay.
I didn't, even though I come from a business family, I didn't wanted to put my father's money into my tinkering things. So, and then there was a company called Meraki, which was bought by Cisco later on.
Okay.
So they released their beta routers, which was based on this Wi-Fi mesh networking. So I said, okay, fine, this seems interesting. You just put it on a rooftop and then plug it into internet, and any of them has internet connectivity, others will get it.
Okay.
I said, it looks interesting, and I had to spend.
Like, wouldn't that be like a privacy concern for other people?
So it was encryption enabled.
Okay.
So yeah, but again, when I was when I shifted to Vizag, I did used to use a local internet guy, and then
okay.
I was interested in sniffing the packets. So I used to run wires. I think Wireshark it calls. Sniff the packet and figure out what is happening in the local net.
Okay.
And that is how I came to know that there is a company which is providing services to Google also.
Okay.
I wouldn't like to talk much about it, but
Wow. So you were a kind of a black hat back then.
I wouldn't call it black hat, but more of a tinkerer again. So I didn't knowingly turn around and try to hack into systems and all. But if someone is loudly shouting their passwords in the network, and you were just I was running sniffer on my own laptop, on my system, right? And it was able to capture other data around happening in the same wire. Because earlier they were using Ethernet, right?
Yeah.
So you could sniff the other packets around. I figured out a lot of interesting things. That is, I think I got access to my Gmail account also. I invited myself through one of the account. Yeah. So I was tinkering mindset, but I didn't knew how to convert that into a business. So 2 years I spent in this time, I ordered a Meraki router. I did a project online. Earned some $1,000 or something out of that. Ordered this Meraki routers. Was experimenting with that. But 2005, the government of India. So we didn't had any fees for licensing fees for ISPs. Or there was only a token 1 rupee is ISP. If you want to create an ISP, you can just pay 1 rupee as a token fee as a license fee, and you can get an ISP license. 2005, I think they changed the rule. They implemented license fees. So I think it was 20 lakhs for Pan India and 10 lakhs for a city-wise license. I'm not very sure of the figures, but it was something, the money which I wasn't very keen on pumping in, into this business again. So 2 years I spent the time learning the ins and out of how we can run this mesh networking and all. 2003, 2005, I also wanted to create a network security because I was tinkering into that and I knew that networks are not secure and all. I reached out to a few companies telling them that their network is not secure. The data is like, your website is not secure and all. But then didn't receive any further information. So I said, okay, looks like that may not be the right time or right moment to do that. So wireless ISP was one thing.
Just normally casually emailed them or did something?
No, casually emailed them. So because I was sniffing the wire.
Okay, so I know a guy like he saw that there is a problem going on with the website.
Okay.
I mean, you know the go-karting thing we have in here? Go-karting.
Yes.
Yeah, so what he did was he just saw the website and he figured out there's a fucking bug in that code.
Okay.
And he booked like 10,000 rides in that for 1 rupee.
Oh, okay.
And then he called them.
So obviously, if you do that and then you call them, obviously the impact will be there, right?
Yeah.
So I was calling the companies much before doing that kind of a thing, right? So if I came to know that there is some problem with that, I just reached out to them. And I used to tell them that this is a problem with their website or whatever. Never used to get any much response back. So I said, and then as I said, I knew how things work, but I never knew how to sell that skill to the market.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's the thing, right? Like there is you could do anything if you know how to sell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
2007, I had done a lot of these experiments, creating a wireless ISP, creating network security and all. And the family got pissed off, like that. Oh, boss, enough of your experiments. You are not earning enough, right? I was doing some freelancing work. I learned PHP on the project. First project itself, I learned PHP and delivered that project. That is how I made my money for buying this.
You took that project without even knowing
without
PHP?
Without knowing PHP. I was reading books and all. I had, because I was buying a lot of different books, XML, XPCOM, ASP. I had a superficial, as I said, I wanted to know what is happening around, but I never went deeper into that.
Even I think, if someone offers you something that you really want to do and that you don't know how to do it, accept it, learn and then do it. Right?
Do it, yes. Also, it depends if it's a critical or not. Right?
Yeah, like if you're too much into it, then you could accept it and then do it.
Do it, right? So the first project I did, at that time, we didn't even have jQuery for doing this, Ajax kind of the refresh. So HTML CSS, when you develop, you have to click and then the page refresh and the content get displayed.
Yeah.
Right? At that time, the Ajax was, Ajax was basically like Gmail, right? You did not refresh the page. The content comes automatically. So at that time, we didn't even have jQuery, I believe, or I was not aware at that time. So, but the Ajax technique was getting popular at that time, right? Asynchronous XML query, I believe it's called. So it was getting popular. So using that, I built that thing for the client. So, I built this project for this client. So I learned PHP on that project itself, learned this Ajax thing, made it a very responsive project and got the money out of it and ordered these routers. And then, by 2007, I have done a lot of these experiments, and then nothing was kind of working out that well for me. And then the family said, they said, okay, enough, boss. Now you need to start making money. So I said, okay, fine, what to do? And then at that time, I believe Just Dial was expanding nationally. They had a presence in 4 or 5 cities, bigger cities, Tier 1 cities. And my brother said, and my brother studied in Bangalore, and they used to use this Just Dial service for all of hell lot of things. And then he said that Just Dial is expanding nationally. Why don't you try taking an franchisee for that for Vizag? And it seems to be a growing business. So why don't you try? Because you are trying other things, and this seems to be a proven model. So I said, okay, fine. So we applied for this franchisee for Just Dial. I took for 3 cities: Vizag, Vijayawada, and Jodhpur. And I started my company again. So as a web services and this Just Dial franchisee. 2007 I started that. That is how when I started my company, Harmony Infotech. And then we did 2 years we did with Just Dial. Again, so there's a problem with me, always early in the market, right? So when I took the franchisee, Just Dial was kind of expanding nationally, but not many people were aware in cities like Vizag. Right? So 2 years we market it around, spend good time of money and effort into promoting it around. But local people were not kind of aware or meant, they didn't wanted to pay for getting a business subscription. So basically Just Dial, how they make money is they charge from businesses. They don't charge from customers. Anyone who call a Just Dial number, they get the information for free. But the people have to pay for listing on Just Dial platform.
Yeah.
Right? So we tried to convince them. And apparently some services like this has already started and shut down their thing in Vizag. So people were not very convinced about it. So we tried, and 2009 we were basically again okay, it's not making much sense over here. 2009 I think Just Dial got roped in Amitabh Bachchan as brand ambassador.
Yeah.
And there is a time when we decided, okay, let us stop the Just Dial thing and focus on our web services thing, because by the time we were getting some projects and all online, and we built a good portfolio on a website called rentacoder.com.
Okay.
So we started getting some projects on rentacoder.com. So I said, okay, fine, let me focus on that. So as part of that, doing this website designing routine, kind of a thing, people started reaching out for us for certain few things again and again. So ebook covers was one.
Okay.
Right. So, and that is how we figure out that there is a niche out there creating ebooks.
Like you started on your own?
So no, my sister asked me to create an account for her.
Okay.
So I was not very keen on services part. So see, sometimes what happens is when you read these magazines and all, they glorify certain kind of a thing, right? So for example, product companies. By the time itself, they were glorifying all these product companies.
Okay.
Services companies, no one give a damn about it. But I believe that they also have their own thing in the market. They need to be there, right? Someone has to provide services, right? But because I was reading, I had a second-hand information, right, from these magazines. And the magazines glorified all these product companies and all. So Microsofts of the world, Apples of the world, right? No one glorify Infosys or TCS of the world, right? So we say that, what these guys are doing and all. So I was also in the same mindset, right? I always thought of, okay, let me also create my own product and all. So when I started, but again, I already experimenting with this wireless ISP and all these things, and it's not working out. Then I said, okay, fine, let me start with services. So my sister asked me to create an account. She wanted to earn some side income. She asked me to create an account on Rentacoder. So I was using her account to basically bid on projects and get projects. So
okay. So initially you just started on your own, just you.
My sister was doing training in animation in Adobe had a platform. What was the Flash, I believe.
Adobe Flash, yeah, for 2D
Adobe
animation,
Flash. Yes, 2D animation. So my sister was good in animation and all. She was keen on getting some projects like that. She asked me to create an account. And then we used to bid projects. We got projects. First we got projects for her.
Okay.
And then I said, okay, fine, let me try to get projects for myself.
Okay. So you saw the market over there.
So yes. Yeah. So, and then I started bidding on projects, getting the projects. And then once we built certain, ranking on projects, then it became easier to get projects. Because once your people see your ranking, I think at one point of time, we were ranked all over 400 within that range, I believe, on Rentacoder all over the world. So once you are ranked in that level, obviously you start getting more people are happy to entertain you.
Yeah.
So I started bidding on projects, getting projects, and then figure, okay, let me start doing that. And that is how I increased my team member size and all. Doing this. I was not very keen on doing services, but I said, okay, fine. If it is earning something, let me try that. Right?
This is all before Fiverr.
Before Fiverr, yes. But we knew that something like Fiverr will come soon because we were entertaining customers' requests again and again, similar kind of request.
Okay.
And that is a good thing with the services business, right? What happens is you can productize your service offering.
Yeah.
Right? If you are doing certain things again and again, then you know that you can package in a box and sell that box itself. So little bit tweak here and there you can do. So we started getting sudden requests from people. Again, they must have learned that it is easy to sell ebooks online. It is easy to make money online through selling ebooks and all. Obviously, they must be thinking in that manner. We were not buying any ebooks, so we didn't know that you can make money by selling ebooks. That's the problem with India, right? We used to pirate everything we get, right? So, and when you don't pay money, then you didn't figure out, okay, someone must be making money out of it. Right?
Yeah.
So people started reaching out for certain kind of request. So ebook covers was one. They started reaching out with similar request. I need an ebook cover with this is design, this is a topic, this is a photo, and we started doing it again and again and again. And
like how much would you used to charge for an ebook cover?
I think $5.
$5
5 to 10,
okay.
5 to 10 or $15 we used to charge. So $5 to $25 we used to charge for each ebook covers. But it was not a standardized offering. Every time the customer used to ask us, and we used to quote something depending on
Okay.
Yes.
Like any other charges for modifications or revisions for that?
No, we did. So we weren't aware that we were supposed to charge for revisions. So
Okay.
the market, So see, sometimes you are not aware what is happening in the market, right? So how does a certain market works? For example, in ad agencies, there is something called retainership, right? People retain you for, or even law industry, right? The lawyers and all. So we were not aware of all this marketing jingo. And there is a problem with creating your startup in a city like Vizag. You don't get this knowledge. There is no transfer of this kind of a knowledge easily.
It's like reinventing the wheel all by yourself.
All by yourself, right? You have to figure out everything yourself, right? So, we were not aware all these things we have to charge. So we were thinking, okay, fine. And anyway, it was 1, 2 requests, 3 requests. It doesn't take much effort to you to do that. So we were not much thinking very much on that line.
Exactly. Nobody knew. I mean, I didn't know that I could do that until I figured out, okay, there is a thing called this on Fiverr. I was doing that for free for all these offline people, actually.
So we started doing this again and again. And at that time, I knew, I wasn't aware. So sometimes it happens you don't understand how big a market can become. So even though you are an early in trend, you cannot see the wave, how big it is going to become. Right. So we knew that requests are coming in. We were delivering that request. And then
you need to create a new product. You should just branch off it and then make it.
Yes. So we created a website called $5 Baby. That website may still be live. I'm not sure. I need to check it. And then the thing was same. We were doing same kind of things again and again. So we said, okay, let us book so we used to get a website header design work and ebook covers work. So we put it on the website, and that website we used to send to the people as a portfolio kind of a thing, and then we used to get orders based on that.
Okay.
After a few months, and then Fiverr came into the picture.
Okay.
So same thing, but on a much larger scale. So we were selling through our platform, but Fiverr was a marketplace where all this offering were standardized and productized.
Okay, for you guys it's just like a portfolio.
For us it was a portfolio. So it never occurred to us that we can create a marketplace where we can allow buyers and sellers to come together. Right? So and that is where a role of mentors play. Someone who has done that, he can figure out, okay, where this market is going. And how you can be ahead and figure out, okay, what is going to be needed in that market. So we were seeing from our viewpoint, even though we were seeing the wave, but we didn't know how to ride that wave or on a bigger picture, larger picture. Right? And a mentor who has done it 1 or 2 times, he know that, okay, how we can do that. So he will have a much better clarity out of that. So we were looking at the wave from riding, surfing point of view. But if you have a camera on above, so they can see, okay, what kind of waves are coming, how big it is and all. Right? So Fiverr came into
I could surf that wave.
Yes. So Fiverr came into the picture, and then we created our account there. And there is when the rush of orders started coming in like anything. At one point of time, we were getting around 40 orders in a day. Okay. And not without us bidding on anything. Because we were early in the game, we had a good decent portfolio on Fiverr. People were finding us on their own. And we were getting all this.
Would you still recommend people who's just starting out today, Fiverr is good? Or
I think yes. So see, there are certain things which are always in need. And
okay, but if you're just starting new, you won't have any reviews, you won't have anything. But is it possible that you may not get seen by a lot of people?
True. In fact, we still get some orders now and then. So maybe hardly 3 or 4 orders in a week we may get now, even though having a good portfolio there. But because we didn't update it ourselves with the way Fiverr, because they introduced a lot of changes.
Yeah, a lot.
And we still have listing way back 10 years. Listing is still there.
It's still live.
We still get some orders. So I have one designer on we share some revenue with him. So he still delivers that. But for a new guy, right? So obviously there is going to be a problem. He won't be getting much eyeballs on his listing. So how do you figure it out? So initially what you can do is you can start delivering your work for free. On Fiverr you cannot do that, but there is other places where you can offer your services for free. There are Facebook groups or other places where people who may require the service will hang around. So you go through that places, offer your services for free or maybe for a very nominal price, get some feedback. And then you can redirect them to these customers. Next time they ask you for something, you can redirect, okay, why don't you buy it from Fiverr? Right? So you offer your services, prove your worth, and then redirect them to Fiverr. So that is one way to do that. And I still believe there is an opportunity there. Because we are not actively trying to get projects there, but we still getting it. So I believe there is still a way to make money out of it. So obviously competition is high, but if you can do good work, I think you can make it.
Okay.
So Fiverr we started doing these services and all, and then used to get these regular projects and all. But we were all doing okay, but then I figured, okay, this is not what I want to do, right? So by 2014, we were basically kind of got bored out of doing all this thing again and again, like, doing websites, fixing bugs. So we were very early entrant in the, even WordPress agencies also, we were very early guys in that. So 2007 when I started, there was Joomla was famous, Drupal was famous, and WordPress was still, I think, version 3 or 4. I'm not sure what was the version. I'm very bad with numbers. So, but we knew that WordPress is going to be much bigger, down the road, because it was much easy to modify things on WordPress.
Yeah.
Joomla and Drupal were a little bit complex. And when something is easy to modify, we knew that it was going to capture the market. In fact, we did deliver to some local companies, which has become much bigger now. So they didn't have any WordPress expertise at that time. So we did work for them sitting here in Vizag. They were from Vizag. And somehow they found us online, and we did work for them.
Okay.
So by that 2014, I was kind of feeling bored out of doing this thing. And then at that time, the government started, okay, let's promote startup culture here and all. So they started with the startup village in Vizag.
Okay.
So that is how my services journey was till that time. By 2014, I was said, okay, now I need to do something product or build something of my own.
Okay.
So we got incubated there in startup village. I found all this, my tribe basically. Till that time I didn't found my tribe.
Okay.
So, and finding a tribe is where you can share your ideas, you can your pain points and all, because in your family, even though they understand business, but they may not understand technology.
Yeah.
And there we found our guys who can understand technology, because they were also trying to do something there, right? So we got incubated there. Some of us then come together. We started doing meetups. And that is how the genesis of Vizag Startups started.
Okay.
Yes. So Rajshekhar was primary guy who started doing these meetups. So the first or second meetup, so there was 2 initiatives. So generally, when a trend start happening, right? So what happens is there are other people who are started doing the same thing what you are doing, right? Because then it becomes evident that the trend is going to come up.
Yeah.
Right? So there was one guy who started, they posted this on meetup.com, Entrepreneurs Club or something. I don't remember the exact name. So, and then Rajshekhar posted on meetup.com again about the startup meetup. So I thought of going to that one, but I then ended up with the other one. Okay. It was in CCD. It was the first or second. People must have tried earlier also.
Yeah.
But by that time I become okay, there is something happening related to startups in city. Okay. I went to that meetup. So we met and then we discussed few things and all. But again, that meetup was more of business guys, people who were doing some businesses and then trying to do something different. Right? Okay. So I didn't find my tribe there.
Okay.
Second or third meetup, which Rajshekhar posted on meetup.com, I ended up in that office. We were hardly 3 or 4 people, I believe, in that second or third meetup. And then I found, okay, these guys are talking something which I'm also interested in. They were talking about technologies, what is happening around the world and all. And there was one other guy, I'm forgetting his name, I'm really sorry. So he was helping with the logistic. So Rajshekhar used to post on meetup.com about these meetups. He used to take care of getting people in, deciding the topic and all. And I started attending that. And down the road, I started helping with that.
Okay.
So that is how we started calling ourselves as Vizag Startups, and the meetup started in Vizag.
Okay. Do you think it's a problem where you could, if you're too early in some tech, other than a lot of people in the market?
So many times people think that it's good to be early, but I believe that it's better late to be the market.
Because by the time you know that, everyone's like, what is that, and then by the time you just quit and start something else, everybody wants to do that, and you feel like, I did that 5 years ago, and you guys told me to fuck off, and now you guys are just doing that same thing for a much bigger price.
No, for certain markets, being early in the market makes sense. But largely being late in the market, you basically understand the pitfalls of the market.
Yeah,
right?
I guess.
So the prime example you can see, everyone quotes that is, Facebook was not the first social platform, right? Google was not the first search engine.
Yeah.
Jio was not the first mobile network.
Yeah.
Right? This all came into the market where the technology was proven, market was proven, and they had to do something different than what the existing guys were doing.
Yeah, I think Apple is doing that thing in a really much better way. Like they roll out their features like
But
2
Apple
or
is
3 years later, but they release it perfectly.
No, but Apple, I would say that Apple is like an exception to that late in the market. They have brought many things in the market first time in the
Firstly,
market.
they bought a lot of things in the market, but I mean, these days, like Apple launched, they kept 3 cameras.
Yes.
And like by the time Android was keeping 50 cameras on their phone.
No, the reason for that is because now someone else is innovating. China is innovating now, right? And we'll come to that. Like, when I talk about the startup ecosystem, we'll come to that why I prefer that Chinese model, that Sanzai model. It's called Sanzai model. That should be a way for us also to.
What is a Sanzai model?
So this like Chinese were always known to like copy stuff, right?
Yeah.
Clone stuff,
Yeah.
right? We were always thinking that they just copy stuff from the world, right? And I believe there is a way to go for like countries like us. Okay. So the Sanzai model is basically, and there is a reason why you see almost whenever a new product or new feature comes in the market, almost every company has that. What is the reason for that? So there is people share the scheme. I'm not sure whether they are still doing now or not, but I believe that they were doing long time back when they were just copying. When they were starting to become the factory of the world, they were sharing the schematics and everything among themselves. So the Chinese guys, the folks who were working in all these small companies, bringing the product to the market, they were sharing the designs and a lot of stuffs among themselves.
So new phone to be launched. The phone cases would also be in the market before the launch of the phone.
Before the launch itself. There's a reason, right?
Yeah.
If you see anyone launching a Kickstarter campaign with a new features, new idea, almost similarly at that time you can see on AliExpress or similar products are getting launched there. Because these people are sharing things among themselves. And that is a Sanzai model.
That's what Sanzai model is, sharing among themselves.
Copycat. So there's a reason Chinese were able to build lot of stuff initially in their when they were just started producing stuff. Okay. So they were sharing all these details among themselves and how the knowledge was flowing. So I believe early in the market, we shouldn't have too much focus on innovation and IP and all, because we haven't even figured out how to build things.
Okay.
Right. So for example, in India, right, how many people know coding? Engineers, 4 years you will spend your time. At least CSC guys. What the hell you are doing for 4 years if you cannot do programming?
All they learn is hello world.
Even then they are not learning.
Yeah.
I don't think that anyone would have written 50 or 100 plus lines of code on their own. Like most of the people, I wouldn't say everyone, but most of them haven't written on their own. Right?
I think maybe they did CSE because of pressure from
Pressure
the
and all,
parent.
yes. That's true. That it may not be out of their interest. So, right? But I assume that if you are even making a factory of producing engineers, at least get them to reach a certain scale where they start contributing, they should be ready to contribute something.
Yeah.
Right? So copycat model, that there is a Sanzai model. So I believe that, we at least need some of that over here so that people are at least becoming good in doing things.
Yeah.
Okay. And how do you become good in doing things is executing. You have to execute upon that.
Yeah.
Right? That only you will become good at things. So for example, I have a very unique idea.
Okay.
But if I don't have anyone to build it, so what is the point in having a unique idea? And how do you get people who can build it? They must be building something regular again and again, right? Then they will become good in building things. So I believe we need to have a certain so now I believe China may not be very keen on the Sanzai model. Because now the companies have figured out how to do things and they have people who know how to build things. But we need to go through that phase where we become good at building things and then we think of how we can innovate and build new things. So I think that is still required over here. So for example, when I was running my services company, I didn't know anything. I didn't know there was a contract to be had. What kind of contract to be here? When we were doing projects for a client, we didn't know how to safeguard ourselves. So we lost some money because the client didn't make final payment. Right? So we delivered everything as per our understanding. But the client came up with and that this was in the requirement, you didn't fulfill our requirement or something like that. And they didn't make the payment to us. So we didn't know how to safeguard ourselves.
Okay.
So all these businesses have certain SOPs, which I believe should be curated and collected and shared. Right? So that is not happening over here.
Okay. That's what you think we should improve on.
Improve on. So at least we should Like, so see, there are few business models which I believe if the SOPs are available, almost anyone can execute upon that, right? So website designing, it doesn't require a rocket science learning to design a website, right?
Yeah.
But why not many website designing agencies? Why people from Vizag or companies from Vizag has to still reach out to companies in Hyderabad and Bangalore to do their websites or their design work or their agency ad works and all? At least we can return that work over here itself, right? So that money should rotate within the ecosystem. And that is still happening. The money is going out from the ecosystem.
Is there still money in social media marketing agencies?
I believe every company needs it, right? Even after ChatGPT come, you can ask them, but someone needs to post it. Someone needs to post, someone like your thing and ask some questions, right? Someone need to answer that. So I still see a lot of companies, they're posting good content on their social media, but no one is asking the questions people are asking in their social media post. So someone still need to do that. So even though it will get automated.
At some point of time, like social media marketing agencies were like everywhere. Everybody is doing the marketing. What do you do? I do marketing. I do digital marketing. Like all they do is just post some pictures on Instagram and then call themselves a marketer.
It's much more than that. But that is a start. As I said, like in the Sanjay model, at least doing something is the first thing. Like even if it is a copy of something. Once you start repeatedly doing that, then you can figure out, okay, this can be automated. How can I automate that, right? Then you start thinking in that line.
Okay.
Right? So I believe there is still we should focus on getting a lot more agencies out of this part of the world because they can make some money and then they get some experience. Once they get some experience and know what is the repetitive work to be done, then some of them may think, okay, how can I build on top of it and automate it?
Yeah, the same thing happened with me also. Like when I was starting out, like I wanted to drop shipping, right? So, so I need to spend some money on advertising before I should get some result, right? So I didn't have that much money to invest in. Just to test a product, I should have some freedom to spend the money, right? So what I did was I just went to OLX. I found a job which is like social media marketing person or marketing executive, whatever they call them. You know, like there's a thing called in Vizag, you know.
Yes.
So for that company, I worked as a marketing guy for that. That was like my first job. So, and there are people like who don't know anything about an ad account. So all these people were like 30, 35 years old, and I was like, at that time I was 18. Okay, so all these 5 guys, and they were the company's CEO is she's a female. Her name is or something, and she just made me in charge of all these 5 people. So I had to explain them like what is CPM. What is CPC? Like there are sometimes like, bro, if it's cost per 1,000 views, then why are you calling it CPM? Right? Like why not call CPV?
Yes.
So I had to explain all these things instead of the important works to them. So from then I got to, like a lot of freedom to spend money because they're already an established company. They could spend more money. They could experiment with their ads, right? So I kind of boosted up their sales because of, at that time I was so curious, like, does these conversion campaigns work? Does these, engagement campaigns work? So all experiments that I wanted to do, I did that. At the end of the day, I was not, spending too much money and wasting it. I really wanted to see the conversions in that, in that campaign. So I worked there for 1 month. I got my salary and I just told her even before I started that I'm coming here to like do these things for a really short time because I have college also, and within this time frame I could do it for free. I could teach some of your people, and she was kind enough to offer me some salary as well. Like we were agreed for 3 months, but I quit after 1 month.
Okay.
And then I started my own dropshipping store, and luckily that worked out.
So there is a good thing with services, right? You learn on someone else's money.
Yeah.
Okay. When you try to build a product on your own or something of your own, right? And then you have to pump in your own money, and then you don't even know whether it will work or not.
Yeah.
Right. But when
you wouldn't have that freedom to spend money
yes. Yeah. Right. So when you do services, but again, that's easy trap to fall into. Again, it's there's a so when you start getting the hang of quick money. You do deliver service, you get paid when you raise an invoice and you get paid for it. Then you get into that cycle, just like a salary, right?
That dopamine hit.
The dopamine hit, right? You deliver the work, you got money, and then you reach out to some the next client and then get money. And it took me a long time to come out of that, that thing. But doing services obviously helps you, understand cash, understand market, understand customers, understand managing team members and all. So
no
I think,
matter like how many ideas you have, you just have to execute first. In order to get experience.
Yeah, but execution upon directly. So there is a problem with this lot of incubators, right? At least the academic incubators. So basically, what they do is they only entertain ideas which seems to be unique. The problem is the student they haven't figured out the market yet. They haven't figured out the customers, how to manage customers, how to manage money, how to manage cash, how to manage team members and all. On top of it, we are asking them to how to manage a new product, unproven product in the market. Right? So it's a lot of unknowns. Yeah. So I believe the college incubator should give more focus on proven things. They should try to reduce the unknowns. Right? So there's few things known in the market. They should focus on that, so that at least the students get some confidence.
Yeah.
I can sell. I can build something. I can sell in the market. Then comes I can build something new.
Yeah, I mean, if you just want to make some money, you need not to create an entirely new product.
There's no need.
Yeah, you could just improve some product.
Improve some product. Figure out what is working somewhere else.
Yeah.
Do something here.
I think that's what they did with Instagram Reels. They just copied TikTok all along.
Yes.
I don't think they even improved it a bit. It's just the same feature, and the timing was so perfect.
So many times the market generally moves in tandem. Basically, like a lot of features start coming in because the market matures, right? So nowadays, if you see cameras in the mobile phone, right, almost the features are almost same.
Yeah.
Right. So that is the market maturing. Right?
Okay.
So so that is you need to find out what kind of things are maturing elsewhere in the world, which may, for example, ChatGPT. Right. There's a lot of opportunity right now. Whether that will be there next down the road or not, we are not very sure. 1 year down the road, everyone will know how to use it, what is the best way to use it and all. So there's a new product coming in the market. Obviously, there's some easy money to be made. But whether it will be long lasting or not, we are not very sure.
Yeah, you just need to know when to stop riding that wave.
You should know that when to exit out of that wave kind of thing. Yes.
Yeah. I think I've heard this somewhere. There are these two brothers from Germany or something.
Semver brothers.
Yeah, they just copied all these successful businesses and then they made it.
It's a good model.
Yeah.
Right. Basically, the Zabong and all they were a part of incubators where, and I believe that there is still legs to that model. Right. So you figure out what is working somewhere else very nicely. Try to replicate it, and at least when that company becomes big enough, whom you copied, maybe they can itself buy when they launch in your country.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a good model. People should try it, I believe.
Yeah.
But again, there it's more of again, let's not quantify that it could be a risky one and all. But I believe everything is risk in startups or entrepreneurship world. But if you can execute, as I say, the Sanjay copycat model, if you can work on that, do it. I believe lot many people should do that rather than thinking of just innovating. So I say that people are thinking that innovation happens in vacuum. That is not true, right? Eureka! Archimedes died long back. It may not be possible now.
Yeah.
Right. So you should focus on getting the skill set to build something, and down the road you will figure out what to build.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So getting the skills to build something is important.
Even this copying thing is happening in content creation as well.
A lot of.
Yeah, we seen some kind of big YouTubers invest and suddenly all of our people are doing the same thing. Everybody's copying Mr. Beast right now.
Yes.
So Mr. Beast is giving away free meals for everyone for a day or something. I've seen the exact same video done by a person who belongs to Vizag.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
You should give me their contact. I tend to reach out to many people like this.
Yeah, there is this guy who copies almost all content of Mr. Beast.
Okay.
But a lot of people in Vizag and Andhra, they don't know who the fuck is Mr. Beast, right? So he's delivering all these people great content which has never been seen before. But on a bigger scale, he's just a nobody. He's just copying content and all that. But at the end of the day, he's making around 25 lakhs per month or something by just doing that. Yeah.
No, it's a good model. So I will give you an example, right? When I was coming to this place, right, I started Google Maps. And why the hell I need to listen to that instructions in that same style and all, right? Why cannot it personalize as per my taste of listening to people, right? So now it's a small feature to be implemented, right? But localization, there is still market out there. As you say, this guy is just localizing
exactly
Mr. Beast, right? So I feel that you just copy, but don't do blind copy. You just put your own flavor, the local flavor into it.
Yeah.
So
I think he got that local market so well.
Yes.
He
So
did it.
why someone is not making a local map thing where I can listen to, even though the Google may just copy that feature anytime soon, so your idea may get vanish.
Yeah, if you localize something like that, like Google will just see that, oh, why see that?
Yes. So there's always a risk. But then, this is what I call for fun kind of an idea. Okay. So for fun and for profit, right? So for fun, we are not doing enough. I believe that people here or in college, they are not doing enough for fun projects.
They want to do it, but at the end of the day, the people who are like their mentors or something, they're just, how do we monetize this feature?
How do we monetize and then if Google copies you or Facebook copies you, like a lot of these are unnecessary questions.
Yeah.
You can never predict where the market is going to be.
Yeah.
Right. For example, now the Twitter people who build their businesses on Twitter API, Twitter is saying they will charge $42,000 USD per month to give access to that API. Right. So there is a free tier, which is very limited one. Then there's a for beginner tier, which is $100 per month, but you cannot do much. But if you need an unrestricted access to API, it's $42,000 USD.
42,000.
Now you cannot build a business start with that, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's a risk you need to take, right? So we are not taking enough for fun kind of a projects in the colleges. I think we should, instead of focusing on creating innovative kind of things, we should just see what is more fun to do.
I even thought that's going to happen to me in college as well. Like, I took BBA because I was so into business and also I thought, okay, I'm going to meet a lot of business people now when I was in college. So there is this event happened where you could just pitch your ideas, and there is this one guy, they were glorifying this guy, like he met a lot of business people and all. So I thought, okay, maybe I could pitch some ideas to this guy, and he's going to love my idea. He's going to invest millions of dollars and I'm going to become a millionaire in no time. Okay. So he just basically threw me out in like 5 minutes or something. Like he just, destroyed me with all these questions. Like, how do we monetize this feature? Or like, what's the use of this feature? Like, this company is already doing that thing, like all these ideas. And I was like, okay, businesses it may not be my thing. Businesses may not be my thing. Maybe I should do a 9 to 5 or something.
No, if someone asks me, I say honestly, even if it exists out in the market, you should go and build it and try to sell, because just building is not enough. You should know how to market yourself. And that is where I fail quite considerably, when I was running my services. I was not very outspoken. I'm an introvert guy. And my family will be astonished that I manage this startup community. I go out and give talks to people in colleges. Colleges invite me for talks. I'm sitting here doing podcast with you. My family will be thinking, hey man, this guy doesn't even talk 5 words in a day in the house. And out there we hear that he's going out and talking to people, talking to students and all. So, but that is what my suggestion would be, right? Build and talk about it whenever you get a chance. Because that is a mistake I did. I was not talking enough about what I was doing.
Yeah, no matter how talented you are, you just need to put yourself out there.
No one is going to market you.
Yeah.
You have to market yourself.
Yeah.
And that is where I kind of failed miserably in my previous avatar before I become outspoken, before I was getting active in the startup ecosystem and all. So, yes.
Okay, so if there's one thing that you would tell to your 18-year-old self, what would it be?
Oh man, I would be shouting, oh man, I did this, I did that, I'm interested in this, I'm interested in that.
What's that one thing you wish you were started so early?
A lot of things. So see, I started. So see, one thing is taking it to the finish line. I feel that is still missing in me. To take something to the finish line. So that I should focus on, and that I should if you started something, then I should finish it off.
Okay.
Right. So that is one thing I would tell to myself. The second thing is be more outspoken about what my ideas are, what I want to do.
Okay. So when did this domain flipping started?
So I was doing this services thing, designing website for customers. So we used to buy domains for them, doing website designing for them, hosting it for them, renewing it for them. And by 2014, I believe I was not very keen on running this services thing anymore. So I started downsizing my client base. Whatever client we had, we used to renew and do the work for them. But I don't think we took any more clients. And also I started downsizing my team.
Mm-hmm.
But many times what happened was some of these domains I bought for my own use. and I started getting inquiries for them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'll make a clarification down the road in this, like, when we are talking about domains, like, what is the difference between domain investment and domain squatting? Because people mistake this terms. Okay. So when I say domain investing, it is something quite different than.
You just want to hold it for a long time.
Not necessarily long time, but when I say that I invest into domain names, people will think that the names like Facebook or Google's or Tata or something like that. But I don't touch that kind of names at all. I go with the generic names. I'll give an example down the road. But I go with the generic names, which can be used. These are called empty vessels. It can be used for multiple businesses, multiple folks, right? Okay. Not for a single. So I don't buy a domain name thinking this is the company and this is going to use it for that purpose. Okay. And there is a difference between domain investment and domain squatting. Domain squatting is when you see some keyword or a company name getting famous, and then you acquire it in certain extensions, or for example, Facebook social something post or something.com, right? So I don't do that kind of investment.
Okay.
So one of the domain I have is social.do and then socialmedia.is.
Okay.
Right. So any agency which wants to run a social media agency, right? They can run their own name, no doubt about it. They can brand themselves whatever they want, and they can also own that single word, socialmedia.is. Right?
Yeah.
So it makes a different impact on your target audience. Right? So I go with the common generic words which define the industry itself.
Okay.
Like I have a domain called crm.do, coding.do. Right? So you can call yourself Whitehead Juniors, and then you spread marketing, inject people with your marketing that yes, what does Whitehead Junior does, right? Coding for kids. Or you can have a domain name called coding.do. You need not even explain to anyone. If someone says www.coding.do, they know what it is about.
Yeah.
And you're not going to forget it. So I do that.
Okay. So, how many domains you own at this point?
I believe 8,500 plus domain names.
8,500?
Yes.
You bought all of them by yourself, or is there any automation process for this?
Yeah, we'll talk about that. So see, I started investing in domain names in 2015 onwards. So at that time we stopped doing this client work. So, but I was still buying some domains for my own use. And then I started getting some inquiries for some of these names. Okay, and at that time I was aware there is a something called domain investing, being early in the trend, right? I know one of my relatives told to me way back in before .com boom that why don't you buy .coms? It's 1999 or 2000 I'm talking about.
That's so early.
So early, right? And so see,
people wouldn't even know what domains are.
What domains are. So and I didn't start. I started buying .coms just last a year or half back. Okay. So 2014-15 I started buying some domain names, mostly .ins, because it was cheap.
Yeah.
Right? So you could get a domain for pretty cheap price, and the renewal was also cheap. So I started buying for my own use, and then people started reaching out for some of these names and offering 30K, 40K for these names. I was thinking man, we are doing website designing, we are making so much efforts, and people just they even not feel comfortable paying 10K, 15K for the work. The whole thing. Website we are delivering, including content, design, everything all inclusive, hosting. And they don't feel like paying that much. And here these guys are ready to pay me that much money for a domain name. And I have only spent 500 rupees, not even 500, 100 or 200 rupees to buy that name. So I was thinking, and I knew about domain investment, but I didn't, and at the time I was on the other, I was thinking, why the hell, so whenever I used to search for some domain name, it was not available. I was thinking, why the hell this guy has bought this name and kept with him, is not using it, waste of time, energy, resources, right? I was not aware of the domain investment. I was aware, but I was feeling why the hell this guy has bought it if he's not going to use it. At that time, it was more of mindset that, you only buy something when you use it, right? So I have bought for my own use, started getting some inquiry, sold few names, and I say, okay, this makes sense. Why should I waste my time in doing this website designing work when I can invest into domain names and pay them for good money, right? So, and then I started buying names. I started buying and maxing out my credit cards. right? And not in the first year. First year I invested into whatever I was making from the services, I invested that money into buying domain names. But then the law of averages came up, right? The sales were not happening as fast as I was buying the domain names. Right? So I invested some money, but I was not able to recover that money back. Next year the renewals come in, and you are not making enough money, you are not making enough sales. And the problem was that I bought a lot of .ins, .ins and .co.ins, thinking that India will grow, and the sales were not coming. So I started pumping more money into that. Now, once you started riding the tiger, you cannot get off that tiger, right? So 3-4 years it continued like that. Because again, being early in the market, there was one problem, and then focusing wrong niche. In India, people don't want to pay for the domain name. That was a mistake I did. So, but
like how do you do this? You just sit there and then you just think about some names. Okay, this one.
That is one way. So see, in domain name, one is keyword names, where you identify keyword which are famous in certain industry. For example, I tell you one name, aim.in.
Okay.
What comes to your mind?
Some teaching,
right? Yeah. Aim. What is your aim in life? We ask people, right?
Yeah.
So any edtech company, if you see their advertisement with aim, www.aim.in, right? You understand what this company is about. Other use could be a gaming company.
Yeah.
Aim, right? If you designing any equipment or games or something like this, or tools for gamers, it's a pretty good name, right? Like I have early.in, right? Let's take an example, blinkit.in. Does it make any sense? Yes, in a way it makes sense. But if it was named as early .in, right? So you will understand, so these are the keyword domain names, right? Where the keyword makes sense. And then there are brandable names. For example, let's take example of Swiggy. What does Swiggy means? It doesn't mean on its own. But it has now acquired a meaning because they started marketing and invest hell lot of money on marketing themselves. So now you know what Swiggy is about, right? But it doesn't mean on its own. So this is the brandable names. Okay. So keyword names and brandable names. So initially, I never went for the brandable names because it didn't make sense much to me. Keyword name, I can always use it for my own purpose, right? I can build some simple portal on that and use it. Brandable names, yes. Even though if you're going for a single product and you can make it a whole startup out of it, it makes sense. Right?
Okay.
So when I buy domain names, I don't sit and try to invent new names. Okay. I make a list of existing industry and what these names could be used for, and I keep a track of which names out of this list are dropping off. So there is a website called expired domains, expireddomains.net. So where you get a list of all these expiring domain names. So someone must have registered this name. They didn't, they felt that they are no longer in need of their domain name, and they are not going to renew it. Right? So they drop this name. They don't pay for the renewals. So I go through this list every day, select which names make sense, and then once it drops, I register them.
Okay. Like you do all this process manually, or is there any automation process?
I have semi-automated now things. Okay. So even going through the list is manual. I have to go through the list, but from that I select some names, and then I have built some scripts where I put these names, and then my script try to register them as soon as they fall off. So it's called drop catching basically.
Okay.
So there is a lot of competition for famous extensions like .coms, .nets. It's not easy to drop catch them because a lot of big companies are doing that. So I'm focusing on smaller unknown, for example, a lot of these country extensions are there where the competition is not that high.
Have you got into ENS?
No, I don't believe in that.
Okay.
Yes. So I run some scripts which drop catch these names, and I mostly go with expired domains. I don't try to invent new names.
Okay. Yes. So basically that's how you just go through that site and then select what you wanted and then just...
Yes.
And you did that like 8,500 times over and over and over again.
Yes. So with practice, it becomes easy now. So now, I have made...
I have to ask you this. Do you own all these domains under one name in one account?
One account, yes. No, one account is as in my company name is there, visible clearly out there. I don't want to buy under different names. Okay. And I use different registrar accounts.
Okay.
So I have to reduce my cost. Right? So I need to find out where this domain is available for cheap. And the price can vary. Like, some place it could be $15, some place it could be $30 or $40. So if I'm saving money, anywhere I want trying saving money, I try to do that.
Okay, like, so as of right now, which one you think is better?
As a registrar?
Yeah.
Again, so I wouldn't say a single registrar is good. Every registrar has their own pros and cons. The big
I was thinking
elephant,
probably like
the big
Namecheap.
elephant, no, the big elephant in the room is GoDaddy. But my own domains portfolio at GoDaddy is pretty small. Because they still use a lot of the dark patterns have reduced considerably in recent times. Earlier they used to have a lot of dark patterns, so they will be forcing you to buy or to few things which you were not even needed it, right? So but they have reduced it considerably.
They keep on calling you like, you own this domain, we are actually launching this product where we could make a website for your domain. Like, would you
no,
be interested in
they
doing
cannot
that?
call them, but again this database is available to others, so the other people may be calling you.
Okay,
So
like
these
maybe
people do sell this data.
Who is lookup or something?
Who is lookup? Yes.
Okay.
So this someone or people are selling this who is records, like, So obviously, if you
from GoDaddy.
So some of these companies must be selling this data. That's why you see an opt out that please don't sell my data. When you buy a registered name, at the bottom the tick mark will be there in some of the registrar. Please don't sell my data.
Okay.
So they must already be selling this data to. I don't find
what do
any
you think
problem
about Namecheap? Is it good?
with that. Yeah, I find so say Namecheap, GoDaddy, Dynadot, Name.com, these are all big players. So anyone who is buying a domain name should go with probably the big names because they have the support structure in place and all.
Yeah.
But for me, I explore hell lot of unknown registrars.
Is it possible for you to own a domain where you could possibly be anonymous? Can you do that?
So all this, the registrar offers a privacy service, so you can opt for that. I try to not opt for that.
Okay.
So many times, so generally, I don't think that my primary business is to sell domain names. I would, my aim is to develop most of them what I hold. So, but again, you have to make it easy for people if they want to buy a domain name. So if it's under the privacy control, then obviously they won't be able to find it out. So I try to not use privacy things. So my name is listed there, out there, my company name. So they can just search in Google and find out my contact details, and they can reach out.
Oh, okay. Like I'm asking, is it possible for us to be anonymous, buying
it's possible,
it?
Yes.
Even that a registrar won't know who you are?
No, that possibility is not there. Registrar will know because you will be paying with your credit cards.
Yeah, but in Namecheap there is an option where you could pay with crypto.
Again,
Where you could pay with a decentralized wallet and nobody would know who you are. Is it like that, or?
people may be doing that. If you are running, for example, a pirated website, so you don't want even your registrar to know who are you. Right? So obviously there must be some services, service providers who may provide this privacy things and all. Like some hosting providers are there. They do have a privacy feature enabled where they don't share with law enforcement agencies and all. But I haven't delved deeper into that because I never found it to do buy things and keep it private.
Yeah, I was thinking about Tamil rockers.
Yes.
So that's a really big side. I was wondering with what register they bought it or how they're running it and all that.
I think they must be using some privacy services to hide their footprints. But again, if you see FBI, if they want, they can reach out to them. So
yeah, I think even FBI is watching us right now. Hi. So that's why I keep this thing on my laptop,
But I'm not very concerned of privacy things. Let it be open. I still have one domain called opengarage.in.
.in, okay.
I would like to build. So one of my dreams is to create a company which is pretty open in what we do. Everything. Whatever we are doing, what is our profit, what is our loss, how much money we are making, what salaries we are paying and all. So there is a culture called open startup culture. So some people do share all these things online. But I'm not in a stage right now to do that, but I will definitely be doing something like this pretty soon.
It just tracks down all the expenses and incomes and all
everything like that. So most of these companies do keep their revenues online. They publish their salaries. Being a reserved guy, I didn't felt good enough to reach out. Even though I was attending events, going to Bangalore and other places which were at least happening places. But being a reserved guy, I was not very outspoken and not reaching out to people. And that is where I feel that I missed few buses. Okay? Which I don't want anyone else to miss Like if I can reduce that thing for someone else.
Okay.
So that's why I'm a little bit active in the startup ecosystem. For me, the startup ecosystem, if things are shared more freely, people can share their knowledge. So I believe together we can grow much more faster than we doing as individually, right? And which is I don't see enough happening in cities like us. Right? Not many people share their know-how, even though they share their connections, but people are not sharing their know-how.
Yeah.
So they may be running a good company, but others people are not even aware, right?
And it's really hard to find people with the same mindset as well, as of right now here in Vizag.
True. So Genesis, if you see any startup ecosystem Genesis, right, there will be few companies which play a critical role or the catalyst role, right? So if you go with Silicon Valley, so the Fairchild Semiconductors, right, all the IT companies, the chip making companies, Intels of the world, because Fairchild broke up and people who were working there, they come up with all these companies.
Yeah.
Similarly, if you see the mafias
PayPal
of the startup
mafia.
world, so PayPal mafia, Flipkart mafia, and all these
Yeah.
mafias, right? So there we need that seed or the genesis where these people can come out from that and start creating something new. So these people made some money, they have some expertise, they started something new, and the cycle continues.
Yeah.
A city like Vizag, we still need to have our own
Mafia.
kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Right, yes. So I hope some of these companies become big enough, and then the tier 2 guys in that, what you call it, the VPs of the companies, right? They come out and start on something on, and then the cycle continues.
Yeah, like people, some of them should start something like Teal Fellowship or something like that.
Teal Fellowship is there, yes.
Yeah.
So again, creating a startup and then enabling other startups, right? So generally, even though we have incubators and accelerators helping other startups, but most of the time it is run by academia or academic folks, which don't have experience under the belt. So they may not understand what it really means, and you can see the difference. Someone, for example, Ahab is a prime example of that, right? So the way it is being run is completely different than other incubators running in the city. Okay, and it shows, the difference shows in the way they are approaching things.
Okay.
Right. So if you have gone through the journey yourself, you will understand the pain points, and then you will know how to figure out your way out. Right. Yes.
So instead of just sabotaging new people with their with your questions and all that, you could just tell them.
You have to promote, you never know which startup idea can work out. If someone came up and told you that I will rent my couch out there in my home and put it on, someone can use it, people will say, what the hell? Why would some people allow their house to be used for that? But Airbnb is a good example, right? So if you or me or have heard of that example or idea, we would have most probably said, what the hell? No way, right? So many times we have these filters in our mind. When we hear an idea, we think of, okay, whether it's doable or not. But generally, it's the crazy idea which works out. Most of the crazy idea doesn't work out.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't think that, all the crazy ideas will work out. But some of the crazy ideas does work out.
Yeah.
So I keep my diary with me, where I have listed out what are the things needed to, build the startup ecosystem.
Okay.
And I've been putting my own, 2014, I've been actively trying to bring something out in the local startup ecosystem. So when we started, at that time, people were not even comfortable sharing their ideas.
Because someone else would copy
it, right? And then we used to say that if it is so easy to copy your idea, please don't do it.
Okay.
Because someone will copy even if you launch in the market.
Yeah.
Right? So even if you have a 6 months head start, it's not much, right? So it took us considerable time, energy, efforts to bring that mindset into people that, as soon as you get an idea, go and talk to people. Everyone is busy with their own idea. We get hundreds of ideas every day, right? So no one is going to copy it.
Yeah.
And even if someone can copy it and execute better than you, he will be doing it after you launch in the market.
Yeah.
So people shouldn't be afraid of it. So it took us a lot of time to convince people to share their ideas.
Especially with people who are designing websites and everything, the founders who were creating the sites, they would be not comfortable in sharing the whole thing, but they expect you to do everything that they wanted to.
Yeah. So see, everyone has this idea that my idea is unique, but I believe someone must have already tried long back and it didn't work out. So it's not only having the idea, but timing in the market, right? At what time you come into the market, right? It's not like that we didn't had any social media before. We had Orkut and other things and all, right? Before Facebook came to the picture. So you cannot decide that timing in the market. Right? So we should share the idea as often as possible. Keeping the secret source, like obviously there will be some secret source. You can keep that secret, but other things you can share with the people, right?
So just like social media, how it boomed at some point, like it still is. What do you think about VR? You think VR is the next big thing?
Until the hardware become good enough, cheap enough, and usable enough, I think that is still far away. So even though I have the domain metaverse.in with me.
You have metaverse.in?
Yes. So
how much did it cost?
No, I bought it for a regular price. And much before the FB rename, the Meta thing happened. I bought it 3 years back.
Damn.
Right? Costed me hardly 200 or 300 rupees at the time, and the renewal cost for 3 or 4 years.
You must have got a lot of offers for it as of right now.
I'm getting regular offers on that. But my asking price has become high now.
Like what was the biggest offer that you got for Metaverse.in?
Metaverse official offers was I think 20k I received for it, 20k USD. And one company shown an interest which was said that yes, he will talk to his partner. I said 80k USD from my end. But otherwise a random inquiry comes in, I am asking 250,000 USD.
250k?
250k, yes.
Nice.
But I'm not thinking to people may not pay. I'm not sure if Facebook comes then they may pay that.
Probably it will actually.
Let's see.
I think even with this NFTs thing, Metaverse has become even more popular in.
It has become popular, but
I don't think
whether this is the right time when it will come to fruition. Because see, we have been hearing of virtual for a long time. I spent some time playing Second Life, and then creating something there, and and thinking I will make some virtual money which can convert into real money. I spent some time into that, but it never come to fruition. So you never know when the market will be right time for this thing, right? So until the hardware become ready, the virtual world. So we are just waiting for someone to do that hardware thing properly.
So which one you think is gonna get big faster, AR or VR?
AR should become much more effective because it combines both the virtual world and real world. But you never know. I cannot predict the markets. I wouldn't venture into that. Which will become things.
Yeah, I think AR would be a perfect thing as of right now, where you could just. I've seen a reel recently where they just opened up a store, probably in a beach. They just have this thing where if you could scan it, it just open up their whole store as a AR. You could just go inside and it'll be like a portal. So you just go inside and browse everything, and you could even order from that. So that was a good idea. You could implement AR in many ways.
So for certain industry, AR definitely makes sense. But how widespread it will become, when it will become, we don't know.
Yeah, I think people are still inventing ways to use AR properly.
Yes. This is all early in the game, right? And that's why I'm not exploring this time around.
Yeah, because you're always so early in the process.
So early in the process. So this time I'm chilling out. Let's see, let's happen, and then figure out if I want to do something.
Makes
I will
sense.
start doing much later in the game.
Yeah.
When we know that the hardware is ready and something.
Actually, even I wanted to do YouTube way back, maybe 7-8 years ago. I wanted to do this channel where I could, basically roast people. And I thought to myself, okay, nobody's gonna watch it, and I dumped the idea. And then that idea is actually working in many ways.
Yes.
So yeah, and after 7 years now I'm doing YouTube again.
So you never know. And see, even this, I'm thinking that this time we'll do maybe that is the wrong way to do it. Maybe I will miss the bus again. Who never knows. But it's fine. This time I'm chilling around. I'm focusing more on my domain names, trying to develop them, build them out. So half of my time I spend on domain names things. That is where I get my earnings. And then half of the time I spend on building the startup. I wouldn't say building the startup ecosystem. That's a big word to say, but more of contributing to the startup ecosystem.
Okay. So as a side hustle, which one would you recommend to people? Dropshipping, social media marketing agency, or something to do with SaaS?
Yes. Obviously, productized services, they will never go out of fashion. Okay, so social media agency, SEO agencies, website designing work and all. This is never, so it's just like food. So we have a real world food. These are the digital equivalent of that food. So it will never go out of fashion. You can get a Chat GPT of the world and all, but you will still need someone to customize, ask Chat GPT what kind of content is needed and then post it and then answer to people. For any freshers, my suggestion would be to try this thing. At least they can make their So my suggestion would be to start with this. This is a low-hanging fruit. At least they can start earning some pocket money. So there won't be a pressure from family or to get a job and so if they start doing digital goods, it is, again, it may not succeed, but it is easy to create, easy to replicate, and if you get famous, you can really make some reasonable money without much efforts. So I would prefer students should try more of that kind of a work rather than creating a physical product and all, because it takes a lot of time, energy and efforts for doing that.
So if you just have to sell a digital product, you just have to create it once and then it sells itself.
A lot of people are making some good money by selling Notion templates. There are people who are making like 15-20K per month. Again, these are all exceptions, obviously. And not everyone will be doing that. But even I will tell, even if you can make $100, $200 or $300 out of it,
I've seen people selling filters. Basically,
filters they are selling, Notion templates. So lot of digital goods are selling, and I would suggest the academic incubators, to start creating public goods, public digital goods, databases, data, collecting data and all. I have a lot of lists to do that, which can academic incubators can do. So they should focus on that, so that at least the student get comfortable with this idea of creating something, selling something, and making money out of it. And then they can think
of digital products is the way to go as of right now, because even at some point of time I sold sound effects packages. So I've seen people filmmaking people, they spend a lot of money on their gear and a lot of money on whatever they need. So I thought, what I did was I just went on to these free sound effects platforms. I just filtered them out in different ways. So I got 2,500 sound effects for free. So I just filtered them, like gun sounds, some wind noises and everything. I just filtered them out and then just created a package. I just went to Google and typed random name generator, and I just picked up a sci-fi name for it. I just bought a domain and I sold it. It worked well for a time, and then after some time, the CPAs got a bit higher. So I made some money out of it, and then I got some email list. So you could just create lookalike audience, right?
Yes.
So
there's a good way, right? So you start offering services, right? And then you are doing certain things manually, and then you figure out what you are doing things repetitively. That you productize and scale a little bit of your service business, and then you create a digital good product out of it. Right? So that is the way I think it should go for most of the folks out there.
Right. So any advice that you want to give to the audience before we end this podcast, when they want to start up, what kind of mindset they should have? So two kind of mindset is required. When you are clear what you want to do, then obviously this advice doesn't apply. If you are clear that you want to create something or bring something to the world and all, so obviously this advice doesn't apply to you, because again you have made your mind and then you know where you want to go. But people like me, right? We were not very clear where we want to go. Right? We were more of explorers, right? When you are the Christopher Columbus, you don't know where you want to go. You just want to explore the world out there, right? You shouldn't have answers to all the questions.
Yes. So for them, so generally what happens is people who have little bit experience, they are working in the company, they have seen gap in the market. So most of the time they know that where they want to go. Right? So for them, I would suggest stick to what you know and then deliver on that. But people who are explorers, for them, this advice should suffice. So the idea is that, whatever you know, or you explore certain things, you like certain things, you start building upon that. Even if it is a services one, right? You start delivering on that. And when you start delivering services, obviously you will come to know certain repetitive things out of it. So you make it a productized thing. So whatever you are doing repetitively, you make a SOP and you productize your offering. Okay. Once you productize your offering, obviously you will be able to scale it a little bit further, right? Once you are able to scale it, then what you do is you convert into a digital good or digital product, right? And then you sell it off. You start selling your digital goods. right? So for example, if you know how to manage social media, like, handles of companies, right? So, and then how to come up with different topics, right? So you will have prepare SOPs. You will ask your teammates to, like, today, it's a one example is like, what is the day today, right? As per the day, world's environment day or whatever, then you will create a social media post out of it, right? And then you will post it, right? So you are doing it for every of your customers. Then you convert into a digital media calendar, right? And then digital media calendar, because you are doing it for multiple customers, you know what needs to be done. You create a digital good out of it, and then you sell that product.
Okay.
Right. So that is the way I would suggest to most of the people who are explorer and who are still figuring out what to do.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much for coming to the podcast. This has been a really valuable podcast. Like, there's so much value that you gave to us. Thank you for coming to the podcast. Maybe we'll do another episode soon on the thing that you were starting right now as Startup Garage.
Yes, I'm working on that.
Yeah.
So
I'm hoping maybe a lot of startup guys who are just like you and me, they would just come on the podcast as well to talk.
Sure. Again, the idea is that, tinkerers like me, like, where we can brainstorm and like, work upon an idea together, share our learnings and take it forward from there.
All right. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.